Hi and welcome back to the course. In this video we're going to be testing everything with Postman and finalizing our last few endpoints in Postman, as well as talking a bit about how the database is working in the background. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the data.db file, and then I'm going to start the app, and then go over into Postman. Now, I've got here the collection in section 6, and as you can see this collection contains nothing related to stores. So we're going to first test these endpoints here, and then we're going to create some stores. Let's first register, which seems to work. Authenticate, which seems to work. Retrieve items, which seems to work. And now we're going to create an item. What do you think is going to happen when I press send? Well, exactly what you'd expect, I hope. It tells us that every item needs a store ID because we didn't include one. So let's include one. What do you think is going to happen now when I press send? The result might surprise you. It just works, even though we don't have a store with ID 1. Okay, now let's retrieve the test here, and that seems to work. We can even delete it, and we can put it in again. Again, we need a store ID. We can put 2, and that seems to work. So the reason why it works is because SQLite doesn't have the concept of enforcing foreign key relationships like that. MySQL and PostgreSQL and other heavy-duty SQL, relational database management systems do have that, so you wouldn't be able to make this work without creating the store first. SQLite doesn't have that, which allows us to test our API quite nicely, but of course isn't really realistic, because now that we have an item with store ID 2, we can go and create 2 stores, and the second one will have this item, which is rather strange. But let's try it nevertheless. The first thing we're going to do is duplicate the items name endpoint, and we're going to call it store name. And we're going to tweak the description to make sure that it is correct. And then we're going to change it to make sure that it says /store/the store name. As you can see, it says store not found. And even if we use test, which we have an item called test, it still says store not found because it's looking on the stores table as opposed to the items table. Okay, now let's duplicate that and edit it, change it to a post, and then edit it and change the description. And now we can create this store there. And as you can see, it has no items. If we create test 2, which is the second store, this will have ID equal to 2. And look at what happens. Ta-da! It gets created with items inside it, because the items were already in the database. Now, that's fairly interesting, but it's probably not really a good thing. So SQLite has many limitations. This is one of them, and another one is that it cannot write 2 things simultaneously to the database, for example. So it's very limited compared to professional systems, but it's quite useful. Finally, let's look at deleting, and we're going to change that to delete. We can send it, and it says store deleted. Remember also to edit this to make sure it is accurate. And finally, the last one is going to be the get a list of stores. Remember to change everything to stores where appropriate, which I didn't do, so I'm going to click this one, change it to stores and save it. And as you can see, we get the store that we didn't delete. We can go ahead and delete it, and then retrieve the stores again, and the storage is empty. So hopefully throughout this, you have seen how easy it can be once you've got some knowledge to create a REST API that has relationships and that allows your mobile and web applications to easily insert and retrieve and update data, which is normally what a REST API could be used for. Now, it can also be used for many other things that we could look into, such as sending emails or holding user data, processing payments, etc. Now, many of those things are out with the scope of this course because I wanted to teach you about authentication, SQLAlchemy, as well as Flask RESTful. But there are many other things that are not out with the scope of this course, such as deployments, which we will look at shortly in this course. In addition, at the end of the course, we'll also build a larger and more complex project, so stay tuned for that as well. But that's it for this section. Hopefully you've enjoyed building this project with me, and I'll see you in the next video.